And welcome. It's good to be with you on this beautiful day right here on the Brett Winterble Show on Newsmax TV. As always, love to hear your feedback. Take your phone calls as well at 877-NEWSMAX, 877-NEWSMAX, and on Twitter at Winterble Show. Have you been watching what's going on with this back and forth on spygate involving the president's campaign last 2 Novembers ago, in which he did battle with Hillary Clinton, and we now know there was at a minimum an informant and maybe at a maximum a spy placed in that campaign to do surveillance. A man who has been on this job warning about the deep state from day one is Jerome Corsi. He is the author of that great book that you, if you haven't read it yet, you absolutely need to get your hands on it. Buy it, read it, learn it, find out what's really going on. Killing the Deep State, the fight to save President Trump. Jerome Corsi, Dr. Jerome Corsi joins us now. Welcome back, Dr. Corsi. As you look at this landscape, as you look at this back and forth over the spy issue, it's got to make you feel totally confident that this war between the deep state and the American people has entered a whole new phase.
Well, you're exactly right, Brett. In fact, if you read Killing the Deep State, this is what I predicted would have to happen. Number one, the first phase would have to be Donald Trump would have to avoid being impeached and demonstrate that Mueller, and I think it's been demonstrated, is really a crooked prosecutor. I mean, even in this Russian case, he indicted a company that didn't exist. And it turns out that a lot of their tweets or their posts were in Russian. I mean, it's pretty preposterous. But that's how deeply committed Mueller was to trying to oust Trump. That was his mission. Now we're about with this spygate to go into what I say in Killing the Deep State will be the second and most important phase, and that is the counterattack. Because I think President Trump is right now ready to organize, and you saw this in the meeting with Rosenstein and Wray at the White House. He's taken a whole new tone, and his tweets last night prove it. Donald Trump is out now to turn the tables and investigate the real deep state criminals, which are going to be the Democrats, ultimately led by Hillary and Barack Obama.
When you look at this, and you look at this battlefield arrayed before us, a couple of figures keep popping up. They keep cropping up. And I don't know if they're distractions. I don't know what their exact role in all of this was, but we've seen James Clapper making the rounds on TV. Obviously, John Brennan, who's a contributor over at NBC News. He's been very aggressively punching through this. What about those two personalities and the way they fit into this mosaic, Doctor?
Well, as I described in Killing the Deep State, what you have here is a coup d'etat. I mean, it's shocking. It was involving Obama and Hillary deciding they were either going to use this Russian collusion, which they invented, to prevent Donald Trump from winning the election or afterwards to impeach him. And this coup d'etat criminal effort, treasonous, involved the Department of Justice and the FBI and virtually the entire intelligence apparatus of the U.S. government. That's why Brennan and Clapper are so outspoken. They know this is going to turn on them, and they're going to be under criminal investigation, I believe, in a matter of just a few weeks.
And when you look at the way the narrative has gone back and forth here for the last, say, 5 to 7 days, we're now focused almost obsessively on, was it a whistleblower? Was it a confidential informant? Is it a spy? The mainstream media, who is in league with this deep state, seems to be desperately focused on getting everybody on the semantics of this rather than the underlying violation of American trust. The idea that a government, a sitting government, could try to put its thumb on the scale and insert an element into one presidential campaign.
Well, it's going to be disgraceful. I think Donald Trump was exactly right. This is going to be one of the most major criminal political scandals in American history. And I'm seeing calls increasing in the House of Representatives for hearings, televised hearings like we had in Watergate, and for a new special prosecutor. The pressure, despite the mainstream media wanting to, change the semantics, is not going to make it go away. It looks like we're on the verge of having the Inspector General release a 400-page report, which is only the first phase of the investigation on Hillary Clinton and the cover-up of Hillary Clinton, where obstruction of justice, James Comey, Loretta Lynch, I'm sure under instructions from Barack Obama, made sure that Hillary was not indicted for her email scandal. So that's going to break, and I think the pressure for Mueller to be dismissed after a year finding nothing, except indicting a Russian company that doesn't exist, that's pretty disgraceful. And now we're going to get the real investigation going with I think, a new special prosecutor. I don't think we can let Rosenstein and this crowd of corrupt people within the Department of Justice investigate themselves. I think the American people is going to realize that. We're going to need a new special prosecutor.
And yet, speaking of the word disgrace, and yet when offered the opportunity to be briefed at the Congress a couple of days ago, you had fewer than 10% show up to the briefing on election vulnerabilities, on the potential for problems coming with our elections and election security, which is a legitimate issue, whether it's involving non-state foreign actors or whether it's involving illegal voting in the United States by people not authorized to do so. This Congress is completely checked out on this. How disgraceful that these folks found that the briefing was too early in the morning to show up, Dr. Corsi.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people in Congress, certainly the Democrats and a lot of the establishment Republicans, are deep state themselves and are the problem. What I point out in killing the deep state is we had massive voter fraud, and this Department of Homeland Security report that's going to come out, I think, is going to show the Democrats had several million illegal immigrants voting and that they destroyed legitimate votes that were rightfully cast because they believed they were for Donald Trump. The election fraud is a disgrace, and Donald Trump is going to make sure that issue is raised, I believe, with the report coming out from the Department of Homeland Security on the voting study that's been ongoing. But these reports are major, major events. The spygate revelations, which really turned Washington upside down over the last couple of days. And now we're going to get the Inspector General's report. The drumbeat for a special prosecutor is going to grow. The Department of Homeland Security report coming out on voter fraud is going to be a major embarrassment to the Democratic Party. And I think we'll call for an end to the voting machines, hopefully implemented. And I'd like to see voter ID laws implemented. We'll get some of it done by the midterm elections, but certainly by 2020.
As you look at the landscape in front of us, we know the president's going to have a meeting at the White House tomorrow, a meeting with congressional representatives. Chris Wray is going to be there from the FBI, a number of people to talk about what happened here with this Spygate stuff, with this material. Devin Nunes will be there. Trey Gowdy will be there as well. What is something that the viewers watching this need to be keep their eyes peeled for in the next 48 or hours or so, looking forward here, Dr. Corsi?
Well, first of all, notice that Jeff Sessions is missing in action, and I think it's part of the problem. You're going to see Rosenstein, who's furious, refusing to hand over these documents to Congress under enormous pressure now with President Trump having General Kelly sitting in, making sure those documents get turned over. The next 48 hours, Wray, Rosenstein are going to fight for their jobs. They're going to fight for the cover-up to continue. They're going to want to leave the Department of Justice to investigate itself. And I believe Donald Trump is going to see through this. I urge the American people to see through this and demand special prosecutor, a new one, be appointed, because we can't let the criminals in the Department of Justice continue investigating themselves in a cover-up. It's disgraceful. These are new breakthroughs, especially Spygate. And I think Donald Trump is going to demand a whole new level of investigation, independent investigation, to clean out the massive corruption, the political corruption in the Obama Department of Justice, which still remains even going into the second year of the Trump presidency.
And yet, curiously, the former president absolutely silent on Twitter. The former vice president absolutely silent on Twitter. Samantha Power and Susan Rice absolutely silent on Twitter. Comey's been out there. Brennan's been out there. Clapper's out there. But those leaders have been 100% silent on the issue of the Spygate and everything else. And that silence is certainly telling and deafening at the same time. Dr. Jerome Corsi, the book is Killing the Deep State. Killing the Deep State. We appreciate you coming by on the show today. I want to encourage everybody to go out there and get a copy of Killing the Deep State as soon as they possibly can. Thanks so much for the time today, sir.
My pleasure. Thank you, Brett.
Newsmax TV. Watch us on Dish, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, Verizon Fios, or download our free app. Don't have Newsmax TV? Call your local cable provider and request Newsmax today.